It was 9 p.m. when the knock came. Sound sliced through the quiet of my house. I'd just finished dinner. The dishes were still warm in the sink, and I was about to pour myself a cup of tea, to finally unwind. But then, the doorbell rang again, more insistent this time. On my porch, illuminated by the single flickering light, stood a young woman I'd never seen before. Rain had plastered her dark hair to her face, and she was clutching a small, battered suitcase as if it were a life raft. Her eyes were wide, and her voice, when she spoke, was a thin, trembling whisper. "Please, I need a place to stay," she said. "I have nowhere else to go." Every instinct screamed at me to say no. I lived alone with my 12-year-old daughter, Mina. The world is full of cautionary tales about opening your door to strangers. It felt reckless, irresponsible. But then I looked into her eyes again, and what I saw there wasn't malice or deception. It was pure, unadulterated desperation, a raw fear that stopped the word no from forming on my lips. My home was supposed to be a fortress for me and Mina, but in that moment, it just felt like a dry, warm place. And she was out there in the cold and wet. Against my better judgment, I heard myself say, "Come in." The lock clicked open, and with it, a new chapter of our lives began. She introduced herself as Sarah. As she stood dripping on my welcome mat, she unspooled a story that was both tragically common and deeply personal. She claimed she had just fled an abusive relationship. Her boyfriend, she said, was controlling, possessive, a man who refused to let her breathe, let alone live her own life. "I don't have anyone else," she whispered, her gaze dropping to the floor. "No family, no friends. He hasn't driven away. Please. Just for a few days, till I can figure something out." I hesitated, the weight of the decision pressing down on me. From the kitchen doorway, I saw Mina peeking out, her expression a mix of curiosity and concern. Her little voice, barely audible, broke the tense silence. "Dad, can she stay?" Seeing my daughter's compassionate face, something inside me shifted. I took a deep breath, the kind you take before a plunge. "1 week," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "That's it. We'll see what happens after that." Sarah's shoulders sagged with relief, and for the first time, a flicker of hope seemed to touch her exhausted face. The first few days were surprisingly normal, almost peaceful. Sarah was a model houseguest. She helped with chores without being asked, cooked meals that were surprisingly delicious, and even managed to coax Mina into a few rounds of board games, filling the house with a laughter I hadn't realized I'd missed. She was sweet, attentive, and Mina quickly grew attached to her. But then, the nights started to feel different. I'd catch her on her phone, her voice a low, urgent whisper. Sometimes she'd be smiling, a secret, private smile. Other times, her face would be tight with fear. The discrepancy was unsettling. One night, my curiosity got the better of me. I saw her slip out the back door, phone pressed to her ear. I followed her quietly, keeping to the shadows of the yard. At the edge of the street, under a dim streetlight, I saw her talking to a man in a parked car. I couldn't see his face, but I could hear her words drifting back on the damp night air. "I told you he wouldn't know," she said, her voice sharp. "I just need more time." A chill that had nothing to do with the night air ran down my spine. I froze. Who was she talking to? And what did she need more time for? A heavy sense of dread settled in my stomach. I hadn't just invited a stranger into my home. I was beginning to fear I had invited danger itself. The unease festered for another day. Every quiet moment was filled with my own racing thoughts. Finally, I couldn't take the silence anymore. That evening, after Mina had gone to bed, I sat Sarah down in the living room. I didn't accuse, I just asked, "Sarah, what's really going on?" At first, she tried to deny it, but my steady gaze wore her down. Her composure finally crumbled. Tears streamed down her face as the whole messy truth came pouring out. I didn't just leave him because he was abusive. she sobbed. I stole something from him. Money? A lot of it. It was my only way out, but I can't go back. And if he finds me, he'll come here. My stomach dropped. The floor felt like it had disappeared from under my feet. You brought this danger into my home. I asked, my voice rising. My daughter lives here, Sarah. Did you even think about that? Just then, a small figure appeared in the hallway. Mina, she must have heard my raised voice. Sarah's eyes locked onto her, and her face crumpled with guilt. I never meant to put her at risk, she choked out, looking from me to my daughter. I'm so sorry. I was just so desperate. The confession hung in the air, heavier and more dangerous than any secret she had kept before. That night, sleep was impossible. I sat in the dark, replaying her confession, her tears, the look of fear on Mina's face. My mind was a battlefield. One part of me, the protective father, screamed to call the police. Get her out, end the threat, right now. Send her back out into the rain she came from. It was the logical, sensible thing to do. But then another part of me, the part that had seen her play games with Mina, the part that had seen her genuine remorse, hesitated. Mina had grown fond of Sarah in this short time. And despite the lies, when I looked at Sarah, I didn't see a criminal. I saw a fragile, terrified human being who had made a desperate choice. Turning her out felt less like a solution and more like a sentence. By the time the sun started to lighten the sky, I had made a choice. It wasn't the easy one, and maybe it wasn't the smart one, but it felt like the right one. I found Sarah in the kitchen, her suitcase packed by the door. She looked like she hadn't slept either. Before she could say anything, I spoke, my voice firm. You can stay, I said. She looked up, shocked. But, I continued, from now on, you live by my rules. No more secrets. No more lies. You tell me everything. And you will never, ever involve Mina in this again. Is that clear? Sarah nodded, relief so profound it seemed to physically unburden her. Thank you, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I swear I'll make this right. Weeks turned into a month, then 2. And Sarah, true to her word, kept her promise. The change was remarkable. She stopped looking over her shoulder. She got a job at a local diner, working double shifts to save money. She insisted on paying rent, contributing to groceries, becoming not just a guest, but a part of our small household. The fear that had once clung to her like a shroud slowly dissipated, replaced by a quiet, steady determination. She and Mina developed a real bond, like that of an older sister. She helped with homework. They watched movies, and their laughter became a regular, welcome sound in our home. The man from her past never showed up. We never heard from him again. It was as if that chapter of her life had truly closed the night she told me the truth. Looking at her now, it's hard to remember the drenched, terrified woman who appeared on my doorstep. She was no longer a stranger. She was Sarah, a friend. In a strange way, she had become family. Opening my door that rainy night was the biggest risk I'd ever taken. I had let in secrets and fear, yes. But in the end, I had also let in hope and a chance for a new beginning. Not just for her, but for all of us. Thank you so much for watching and for letting me share this story with you. If it resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you'd hit that like button and subscribe for more stories. Stay safe and remember that sometimes the greatest risks lead to the most unexpected rewards. See you next time. It had been 2 months since Sarah moved in, and our house had finally started to feel warm again. She'd found a steady job, and my little sister Mina adored her like a big sister she'd always wanted. Life was settling into a comfortable rhythm, a quiet peace we hadn't known in a long time. But peace, as I was about to learn, can be fragile. It was a rainy Tuesday night. It's a kind of rain that taps against the windows like nervous fingers. I was helping Mina with her homework at the kitchen table, and Sarah was humming along to the radio, making tea. Then a sharp, insistent knock echoed through the house. It wasn't a friendly knock. Mina looked up, her eyes wide. Sarah's humming stopped. I went to the door, a strange knot tightening in my stomach. When I opened it, a tall man stood on our porch, drenched by the downpour. Water dripped from his dark hair onto his shoulders, but it was his eyes that chilled me. They were cold, like chips of ice, and they were fixed on something behind me. "Sarah," he said, his voice slow and deliberate. A smirk twisted his lips. "You didn't think you could hide from me forever, did you?" I turned. Sarah was frozen by the kitchen doorway, the color drained from her face. The teacup she was holding slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor. "No, please, don't," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. She instinctively took a step back, positioning me between herself and the man. A surge of protectiveness, fierce and primal, shot through me. I squared my shoulders, blocking his view of her completely. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice firm, betraying none of the fear clawing at my insides. "And what do you want?" He let out a low chuckle, a dangerous sound that didn't reach his eyes. "I want what's mine," he said, his gaze flicking from me to Sarah and back again. "She owes me. And now," he added, his smirk widening, "so do you." His words hung in the air, heavy and poisonous. I felt Sarah trembling behind me, her fear a tangible thing. But my own fear was rapidly being replaced by a cold, hard anger. This was my home. This was my family. I took a step forward, right to the threshold, planting my feet firmly. "You will not enter this house," I said, my voice low and steady. "You will not threaten anyone here. Not her, not me, not my sister. Do you understand?" The man laughed, a short, sharp sound of disbelief. "Funny, I thought you'd be the type to understand debts. But fine." He held up his hands in mock surrender. "Keep her safe, for now." He leaned in, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "But I'll be back. Soon." And just like that, he turned and vanished into the rainy darkness, leaving behind a silence that was louder than any storm. The threat lingered in the air like smoke, choking us. As soon as he was gone, Sarah's strength gave out. She sank to the floor, her body racked with tremors. "I shouldn't have come here," she sobbed, burying her face in her hands. "I'm so sorry. I brought him into your life, into Mina's life. I'm so sorry." I knelt beside her, pulling her hands away from her face. "Hey, look at me," I said gently, but with a firmness I didn't know I possessed. "You didn't bring him here. You brought yourself here, and we will deal with this." Together, I helped her to her feet, and as she leaned on me, I knew my promise was unbreakable. We were in this together. The days that followed were thick with tension. Every creak of the floorboards, every car that slowed down on our street sent a jolt of anxiety through the house. The man's promise to return echoed in my mind. But fear wasn't going to paralyze us. It was going to be fuel. I went to the hardware store and bought new heavy-duty locks for all the doors and windows. I installed a small, discreet camera system effidos on the front and back porches. It felt extreme, but the peace of mind it offered was worth it. This wasn't just about feeling safe. It was about being safe. The hardest part was talking to Mina. How do you explain adults' problems to a child without terrifying her? Sarah and I sat down with her one afternoon. We didn't use scary words. We talked about stranger safety and created a safety plan. We practiced what to do if she ever felt scared. I showed her how to use my phone to dial for help with one button. Sarah taught her a breathing exercise to stay calm. Mina, clutching her stuffed bear, listened to every word. She was quiet, but she wasn't panicking. She was absorbing it. One night, I found Sarah staring out the living room window, her reflection a ghostly image against the dark glass. Tears were silently streaking her cheeks. "I can't live like this forever," she admitted, her voice thick with despair. "All I ever wanted was a safe place. And instead, I brought danger to the one place I found it. I put my hand on her shoulder. "We'll handle it," I said, my voice full of a conviction I was starting to truly feel. "You're not alone anymore. You never will be." Just then, a small voice piped up from the doorway of Mina's room. "I'm not scared," she whispered. We both turned to look at her. She was standing there, holding her bare salutes. "You're both here," in that moment. Seeing my little sister's fragile bravery and Sarah's pained resolve, I knew we had to be stronger than the fear. We were a fortress, and we would not let fall. A week passed, a tense, quiet week. The new locks were always double-checked, the camera feed always on. We had fallen into a new routine, one of hypervigilance. And then it happened. It was early evening. I was washing dishes. Sarah was helping Mina with a school project at the table. A heavy, aggressive banging started the front door. Not a knock, a fist. We all froze. I looked at the camera feed on my phone. It was him. This time, he wasn't waiting for an invitation. He was rattling the doorknob, his shoulders slamming against the wood. My heart hammered against my ribs, but my training kicked in. "Sarah, Mina, now," I yelled. Sarah grabbed Mina's hand and rushed her to my bedroom, locking the door behind them as we'd practiced. I heard Sarah's voice, steady and clear, on the phone with the police. Mina was hidden, shaking but safe. I ran to the front door, planting my feet and throwing my entire body weight against it. The wood groaned under the force of his assault. "You need to leave." I screamed through the door. "The police are on their way. You can't protect her forever." He roared back, his voice a muffled snarl of rage. Another heavy thud shook the entire frame. I could feel the wood splintering. My muscles screamed. My adrenaline was a wildfire. Just as I felt the door starting to give, I heard the wail of sirens growing closer, a beautiful, life-saving sound. The banging stopped. Through the peephole, I saw him freeze, his face a mask of fury and disbelief, before he turned to run. But it was too late. The flashing red and blue lights washed over our lawn. The police had him in cuffs in seconds. As they led him to the car, he looked over his shoulder, his eyes locking with mine. The hatred in them was absolute. I walked out onto the porch, my body still trembling, and I looked him straight in the eye. "You will never threaten my family again," I said, my voice quiet but unshakable. "Do you understand?" Qley just glared, his jaw tight. He didn't have to answer. The law would handle him now. After that night, the silence in our house felt different. It wasn't tense anymore. It was peaceful. Life, piece by piece, started to return to normal. But it was a new normal. A stronger one. Sarah got a promotion at work. She walked taller. Her laughter was louder, and the fear that had haunted her eyes was replaced with a quiet confidence. Mina started talking more, not just about her day, but about her feelings. She'd tell us if a shadow documento scared her, and we'd talk it through until the fear was gone. And me? I realized something profound. I had always thought family was about blood, about a shared last name. But that night, fighting to protect my home, I learned the truth. Family isn't just blood. It's loyalty. It's courage. It's the people who stand with you and fight for you when it matters most. One evening, we were all on the couch, watching a movie. Sarah turned to me, her expression guangal soft. "I never thanked you properly for protecting me," she whispered, her voice full of emotion. "I don't know what I would have done without you and Mina." I smiled, putting my arm around her. "You're not alone anymore," I replied, repeating the promise I'd made weeks ago. "And you never will be." Mina looked up from her homework, which she'd spread out on the coffee table. A wide, genuine smile lit up her face. "See?" she said, her voice bright and happy. "Everything's okay now." And she was right. Some strangers bring danger into your life, it's true. But sometimes they also bring the chance to find your own strength than the family you choose to protect. Thank you so much for listening to our story. It's a reminder that we're all stronger than we think, especially when we stand together. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories. We'll see you next time.